an assistant with me, a new friend. Yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome to part 2 of Drastic Social crossover with Trans Awareness Week podcast. Today we have Isak with us.
Hello,
Thank you,
hello,
Isak,
hello.
for coming to this talk at your organizing while you're organizing Trans Awareness Week.
Yeah.
So since this is a part 2 of the talk, last time we talked about there are 3 parts that I want to do with you and Vero, which was first me asking stupid questions as a cis person who doesn't Google or do anything, and then just like why. Um, it I can see it already offended people when I just like, but why? Why do you want to do it? It's like, why don't you want to do it? Pharaoh said, yeah, okay. If you don't know why, then you would not know why you want to do something. That's why, like, why don't you want to do it? I guess a lot of people just also don't know how to explain that. But it's like deep inside of them, they're like, yeah, I just don't want to. And when it comes to trans people, is that yes, I really want to. It's just me. It's just who I am, right? So that was the first part, asking stupid question to get some feedback about why or how we can actually ask better questions. And then second part is I like to hear more about things you don't want to hear anymore. Like let's say this is the last time I want to hear this, shut it down kind of thing. And then the third part is maybe we could put a structure into when it comes to people who are ignorant, who doesn't know what they're saying, but they think they're right. Like maybe there are steps that they can think about themselves. Oh, before you ask this question, think about what you shouldn't do, or think about what you need to do before you ask that question, kind of thing. So I know there's a lot, but we can, of course, start with going back to the first part of cis people asking stupid question.
Yeah.
I have one example
Yeah.
after the show is that I went home and I talked to somebody I live with, and I told them about the thing I was doing, and the person was like, "Oh, yeah, I know about trans people. There's this one person, they regret it." So I'm just like already boiling because I asked the person, why did you have to ask that first when I talk about these things? Like this is like cis people asking stupid question, right? So
I
what do you
mean,
have to say about that?
in Norway we have the national, like the public national treatment provider, basically. And they have been active in going out in the media saying there is a high percentage or there's a lot of people that regret transitioning. Which is not true. Some of the people that were in the panel yesterday spoke about it as well. But one of the things that Rikshospitalet, which is the national health care provider, the public one, in those 2%, you have, I'll give you the categories. You have people that are overtreated. That means that they have gone through their transition period where they have the full package. That means all the surgeries, hormones, and bottom surgery. And there might be a reason why they have been overtreated, but they are not happy with the result. So that doesn't mean that they're not trans. It just means that they are not happy with what they have gotten. So we get emails about the procedures that have been done there, and there have been people that have not been happy. The second is, people that transition, the support system is not there, and so they have to go back in the closet. That doesn't mean that they're still that they're not trans, but their environment won't allow that. And that can be different reasons. That can be culture. It could be the family is very conservative. And then you have non-binary people who don't get healthcare treatment in Norway. And I know that there are non-binary people that get maybe the first appointment and then won't get a follow-up appointment after that because they actively say we do not treat non-binary people. But the national healthcare provider, they include non-binary people in this percentage of regret, which doesn't make sense. And then you do have those small percentages of people that actually do regret, that find out that they're not trans, and that's okay. But there's there is a small percentage, and then um, compared to the amount of people that actually need treatment, and that's what they use the argument to not treat the 98%. Yeah.
So it's like basically, first of all, the media is maybe doing something wrong in a way.
I think, like in a lot of things, and I think I mentioned earlier, was then oppression cells, transphobia cells, fear cells, and the way that media portrays marginalized groups or minorities is in a bad way. And like I know we have an episode on Trans Norge where there is a person that did detransition, but it's a totally different story compared to the one that media portrays. They don't want to portray this story, which I find very strange because they have had a big focus on detransitioners.
What about when, say, if there were anybody who thought that they were trans and they regretted doing some of the procedures because they didn't think they thought they were, but then they were not. So this is the very small percent, and these people, they come out to active, like being an activist, to of course advocate for the right treatment, the right medical attention, and all that. But then that also became a thing for the pop culture to say, oh, you see, people are regretting, blah blah. Like,
I
how do
mean,
what can we do about this? Like, how do we?
the main story of detransitioners, especially the ones in the Nordic countries, is I think there was a case not too long ago, a couple of months ago, which has been the same story. Like, she's had the opportunity to tell the same story over many times, which I think is a bit weird because, yes, we've heard this story. And that is that she thought she was trans. And then she went through the process of socially transitioning. And that means changing your name, using different pronouns, and then getting to the point where she got to the national healthcare provider, but she was rejected. And there is a lot of people that do get a rejection from them. Even I did in the beginning. And then probably I'm just going to assume, but probably in a state of panic of not getting the healthcare that she thought she needed, she bought hormones online. And then she took them and then found out, oh no. Oh, she had a conversation with her sister. And then she said, oh no, this is not for me. But she didn't, I mean, the national healthcare provider did take their evaluation seriously, so she didn't get the help from the national provider. And then that's the story that people say.
Keep listening to,
Yeah.
instead
And
of putting the highlights back to people who actually need help
yeah.
and how they can
I
get
mean,
help.
there are
Right?
so many trans people that are on a waiting list and don't get healthcare and have to fill types of criteria. For example, you can't have a higher BMI than 30, for example, to get surgeries. And there's to me, it's a lot of people get treated differently. Some go very quickly, some go way slower. I know people, if you have different diagnoses, if you have ADHD, if you're autistic, if you're a little depressed, all of those things will then, slow down the process of you getting healthcare. And I'm not saying that hormones or surgeries are going to like fix everything about you, but it will alleviate a lot of the issues that you have, and maybe give more space to actually deal with the other issues that you might have. But they'll just want to extend. There is this thing that says in their reports that you have to have a high frustration tolerance to actually get treatment.
Okay, so maybe that means a support system.
No,
And
you just have to have a high frustration tolerance, that you have to experience all of these frustrating things, the
Yeah.
waiting, the one of the things, like, I don't want to wait to live my life.
But you have to wait because of the
Yeah,
procedure
I've
and how
spent
long it
6
takes,
years
right?
in the healthcare system. It was just this year that I was, finished. And when I mean finished, I that's when they said, okay, we're gonna stop now. But if I'm a trans feminine person, the process might, and if you want to go the whole way, it might take 10, 11 years till you're actually done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of time spent waiting
Yeah. Just
to,
like people telling you
yeah.
this is like a chore for us kind of
Yeah,
thing,
and
right?
people have like this weird notion that HKS or Rikshospitalet, when you talk about trans issues, is that we give hormones to babies and operate them, and we don't do that. You probably won't get surgery until you're 18.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So there are all these seriousness in all like questions and answers in all this. So it's basically really hard for anyone to kind of like explain in a very short period of time, or like have a comeback to people who say things like what I heard. Oh yeah, I know about trans people. A lot of them regret it. Like this is sometimes I feel like is transphobia actually in disguise, right?
Yeah, it is.
They say that is because I would say internally maybe they don't believe it because they don't understand. They don't have the statistic. They never study about it. Then they will just say things according to how they feel. And
I
how do
feel
we say something back in like a shorter amount of, I don't know, there could we maybe like make a handbook of like answers we can get back to them with? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that could work. I mean, I've met a lot of parents that, you know, have these feelings because as a parent, if you have a trans kid, you it's I think it's hard for them to actually put themselves in the position of their child. Their child has probably felt like this for a very, very long time, and then all of a sudden this happens. And for the parent, it's scary because they haven't noticed anything, or they don't know, or they have the assumption of what the media tells them, and they listen and trust the media, which I'm not saying is wrong. I'm just thinking that we need to be more critical of what these people say. Um, and when you have health practitioners and doctors going out in the media saying that because they're about to decentralize the healthcare system that we have now, especially up in North, saying that no, we're not going to go and do experimental treatment. It's very weird to say that hormone treatment is experimental if we've done it for hundreds of 100 years, for example, or 60 years.
Is it also transphobia?
Yeah, but
Like
that's
in their
fear.
mind
It's
that
fear of not doing anything wrong, or it is actually transphobia.
yeah, because for them to think, oh, we're not gonna experiment. It feels like they already have taken a side
Yeah.
on what it should be. Then they will say what you want to do is we're not actually trying to help, but like testing things instead of.
I wish that doctors would actually consider and see the damage of not treating people is way more is more dangerous and then saying, I don't want to do any damage, so I can't treat you, or I don't have competence, because they have taken an oath to give healthcare in a um, responsible way. But is it responsible to not give healthcare and then put the patient in a position where they will have a mental instability for a very long time? I don't think that's responsible.
It's not, definitely not. Um, I know you're a board member of PECOI. What was it in English actually?
I'm the leader of
Yeah.
the patient organization for gender incongruence in Norway,
Mm.
which is the largest patient organization. There's two. There's the HBRS, but PECOI is fairly new, or in English it's POGI. Um, we will be 5 years next year, but we are the largest.
Do you have like regular meeting with the healthcare system or the doctors that actually need
Mm,
more education about these?
like I give lectures to psychologists, teachers, parents, um, what's it called, nurses. When it comes to doctors, it's quite hard to actually get them um, to to like get them in one space.
Mm.
But whenever I meet a doctor with a with one of my I'm going to say user or patients, I always, there are these courses that you can take that are approved by the Doctor Foundation in Norway. It's called Skill, the one that Ingunn spoke about the other day, where they can learn more about sexual health. Because one of the issues when you, as a psychologist, teacher, or doctor or nurse, you don't learn about sexual health. Not the way that you should.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
just like I think the panel yesterday was talking about how
Mm.
teachers also don't know actually how to teach
No, they have
sex
to do it.
education
They have to do it
sometimes,
on
right?
their own.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
And you have sex and politics, or sex and society. I don't know which one of them has it, but they do have something in schools which is called week 6, and in Norwegian it will be uke 6,
mm.
where they have a whole week where they discuss different topics about sex in different schools. But that's for the students. It's not for the teachers. Um,
That is actually very important work that I mean, because I don't speak Norwegian yet.
mm,
I only know very little.
yeah.
So I don't get to actually listen to all the talks that you're doing this week.
Mm.
But it's very good that you're telling me now. It's like a glimpse of what Trans Awareness Week is about and what
Mm.
PECOI is doing.
Yeah,
Um,
we're gonna have a meeting um, with there. We've had different workshops with Helse Vest, Health West, and Health Nord, and Inomed, like we spoke about in the beginning of the week. But it's just a bit disappointing when it comes to all of the work that previous activists or professionals have done before. There are reports that have done, there's documentation that this needs to happen. But they've spent 3 years doing absolutely nothing, and now starting. And then they're doing these workshops to find where the shoe fits, uh, which is
so there's
they're
a gap.
disregarding
There's
all
a
of
gap
the, yeah,
between
they're
the two.
disregarding all of the knowledge that and experience and reports that have already been made, um, which is very disappointing. Um,
Maybe we need to throw a parties with these people, get them drunk and let them get more interested in learning about things that they don't usually listen
mm,
to.
yeah,
I believe the social aspect of things can really make a lot of things happen, right?
yeah.
So
Um,
let's round the doctor and you know have a party. Um, so yeah, so now can I listen to you rant about things?
I
Like
don't know what
get it
I'm
all
going. I don't
out.
know what I'm gonna rant
Yeah.
about though. Feel like I have been ranting
Yeah.
already.
Okay,
Yeah,
so let's not rant about things.
yeah.
Um,
I just wish that trans people get the healthcare they deserve, whether it's just going to see a therapist, if it's just going to socially transition, because being trans is not just about uh, taking hormones or getting surgeries. It's everything that comes before that and during and after. And when with the system that we have now, um, yeah, it's not ideal, and it's not the worst either, but it's not the best. And they say that they are experts. And what I feel that is lacking is the support. If you don't have the support, which a lot of people don't have, the support that you need to have before an appointment, during an appointment, and after, and even after surgeries and stuff like that. Um,
I feel like a lot of times in Hong Kong, where I'm
mm,
from, they call the LGBTQIA community the niche community, like a
mm,
niche community,
mm,
or like the sex niche. Is because there are indeed maybe smaller population compared to the others, and so because of that, I feel like it's always segregated. Even in the LGBT community, it's mostly segregated from this cis heterosexual people,
yeah, because
right?
we don't want to be there because
Yeah,
it's unsafe.
it's unsafe because they don't learn, right? As cis people, I think because the whole society is built upon being cis and
Mm.
heterosexual, it's like definitely not a safe enough space for people who want to be different,
There
right?
are cis people that are great. Don't
Am I one of them?
yes, but I
Thank
mean,
you. Not
I
enough,
think
right?
because a lot of trans people often feel alone, and that's not like I assume that you have felt alone. I'm not saying that you don't. I'm just saying that in our process, now I'm going to talk from my perspective. When I first came out, I was alone, and then ever since I've been actively searching for a community, and I still do that because that's something that I need to do when it comes to my work and my organization.
And well-being, right?
Yeah, but I often do it for others
Mm.
so they won't feel alone, because I know there's so many that does. And if you come from a different cultural background, you definitely don't have the support system. And then I want to create a network for others. Um,
This is how I feel about like the reason why I, as founder of Drastic Social, I am
mm,
doing things to kind of like bridge
mm,
different communities together so that like other people can also learn from the aspect and the knowledge, and so
mm,
we can provide a safer space
yeah,
for everyone in
yeah.
our community. And I hope that this is going to be the way forward, at least in my bubble, in your
Mm,
bubble.
mm,
And then we group more and more bubbles together
mm,
so that trans people, a lot of them don't feel like they can't even talk to cis people
mm,
because of the harm they might be given,
yeah.
right? So,
I think I'm a very fan of paying it forward. Like, I have, I'm in my space now, and whoever I help next, I wish that they would then help next, because that's how we can help each other.
it's like
Yeah.
community based and community building in a way, right?
Mm.
What what when it comes to community building, you've been doing it for so long. What have you like? Do you think that there's like a different way we can do things, or have what
I
can you
think there
tell
are
us?
many ways you can do things. Sometimes I find out that, okay, this doesn't work, so I have to try something else. So, there's like, now we've experienced the pandemic for 2 years, and we all had to live in this digital world. And that's one of the reasons why Trans Awareness Week and nearly all of the events that I organize are digital and physical, because I know it's still hard for people to get out. We are a vast country. I want to include as many people as I can. If you're trans and you live, in a like in the countryside, and you don't have the network, but maybe you can see this at a later point, and then you might want to contact one of us, or relate to some of the conversations that we've had.
It's like at least you're providing a space where people can be more
Mm.
comfortable and feel like themselves and express themselves.
Yeah.
I believe that it's a very important human rights to even just be yourself and express how you want to be.
Mm.
And yeah, this community is so important because of it. I feel like every community that serves the purpose of that community, it's of course important for them. But do you feel like maybe at one point we can do more crossover things with cis people to make bigger circles?
I mean, cis people are always invited. You just have to respect the space that you're in.
It's like well, for them they probably feel like, oh, there's so much work to do, so much to learn. I might as well just stay in my own bubble
Yeah,
with
that's not
like,
my
right?
problem.
Yeah, right.
That's not my problem.
Mhm.
Their problem.
Mm.
I feel like I provide a lot of information, regardless, and I'll point you in the right direction. And I might be, if I intuitively feel that you want to learn, and depending on how you would then ask a question, I will then answer. If not, I will redirect you to
Mm.
Google. To
Yeah. It's I just feel like it's because in the end of the day, people think that, oh, it doesn't matter to me, but they don't see that it actually
mm.
matters. Let's say if cis people grow up and get married and have kids, and one day maybe
I'm
their
not
kids are
saying
trans, right? So
yeah, I'm not saying the same. It's the same thing, but it's kind of like, I don't see color.
mm,
I don't see your race, or it's kind of like that,
yeah.
and that doesn't feel good.
Yeah, that's a lot to unpack as well when
Yeah.
you say, "Oh, I don't see color." It's like, "Oh, I don't see that I have privilege and you
Mhm.
don't. I
Yeah.
don't think that you don't have the same privilege as I do
Yeah.
just because they've never been there," kind of thing, right?
No. And there are a lot of trans people that are privileged. I'm also privileged, and I want to give the space to others that would want it. I know that it's a scary thing to take space, but I am very willing to give it to others, because I want visibility and representation, but I know it comes at a cost. It does cost something. Um, but I feel that regardless of how much it costs, for future generations, or even the ones that are living now, um, the more visible we are, the better it is.
Yeah,
But
there
it,
are not too many people who would be brave to just stand out and say everything for some community, and
mm,
maybe they'll face a lot of threats, right? Or like
there's a lot
people
of hate.
hating.
There's a lot of threats. There's a lot of death threats. There's a lot of transphobia. There's a lot of that, but there is also a lot of love. Um, if you ever decide to go into the media and tell your story or whatever, just don't read the comments
Mm.
ever.
Um, I I don't know. Sometimes I feel like that's where you can actually save people in a way. But it
Yeah,
takes a long, long time and a lot of effort, and it's like, oh, it's not even worth it because maybe once they go back to their own environment, then they just forget about everything,
mm.
kind of.
Yeah. I'm not in the comment section, and I don't want to spend my time there.
Mm. You
Uh,
want to focus on building your own community, having space for yourself, having joy,
it will
and
just make me
create
feel
more.
worse. So I don't
Yeah.
see the point of
Mm.
making me feel worse
Of course.
when there's so much else I could be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why I would be these people who go to the
Yeah,
comment
go
section.
ahead.
Yeah, I
There
have
is a lot of
enough space for that sometime, so I'll
mm,
do it. Of course, it like ends with a few comments
mm,
because you can see maybe they don't understand and they don't want to, but also there I feel like now the comment section is also getting more developed as a place for people to actually debate or learn about other knowledges they don't know. I feel like it's more than just trolling now because it's true
it's
that,
hate speech.
right?
It's not trolling. It's hate
Mm,
speech. That's what it is.
mm. Do you, yeah, that is like a very heavy topic, and
Mm,
we shouldn't focus on these things. We
mm,
should focus on the joy that we can bring to the
yeah,
world, right?
yeah.
Um, as we now maybe we can get into a more structural way of putting this together.
Mm,
As in, I feel like there are many layers for an ally to become somebody who can actually get close to the community to help or
mm,
to spread the word within, say, the cisgender people among people who don't know.
yeah.
What do you wish that we can do as?
I think allies needs to, because of the climate how it is today. I feel like locally allies need their own community, an own structure, an own network, because um, there are many things that they might face in their day-to-day lives that not necessarily every trans person needs to know about, but that they could support each other together, um, which I think is a nice thing to do. And then, once in a while, there'll be a trans person saying, "How's it going? Do you need anything? Do you need this information? Do you need these facts? Do you need this and this and this?"
Mm. Um, I think that we're living in a very lucky place where Bergen
Mm.
Kommune, the government they have a lot of funding or like
They have
they're
some
doing a lot of
funding.
things to encourage people to be more diverse and inclusive because
Yeah, what I know
right.
now is that Bergen Kommune wants to save money.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how much
Mm.
funding they actually have.
But so far, I've been living here for 2 years,
Yeah.
and of course, compared to where I'm from, there
Mm.
are way more funding for the
Yeah,
cultural and
definitely,
art
definitely.
sector, where like inclusion and diversity is
Mm.
a thing, it's a theme in the
Yeah,
recent
because they
years,
call
right?
themselves the Rainbow City. Don't you know that?
No.
Oh. They call
Okay.
themselves the Rainbow City.
Well, let's hype that up so that they can't
Yeah,
cut the funding.
um, I think there's a lot of like Runa sitting over there, but she works in Bergen Pride. I know that they cut the funding for Bergen Pride, which
Mm.
is didn't they? Runa, did they cut the funding for Bergen Pride? Bergen Kommune. I just need to check my facts. Did Bergen Kommune cut the funding for Bergen Pride? Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So they
okay.
didn't increase any funding, even though
Mm.
they need money.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's maybe we should really just hype up some of the things in this city that we want to see,
Yeah.
so that they have to
I just
give us
think
more
that,
funding.
especially after the 25th of June, they
Mm-hmm.
should have done more.
Mm.
They should have done more for mental health. They should have done more to support the queer organizations that help their community.
Mm.
Um,
I would say sometimes I don't just want Bergen Community to fund, but more like commercial organizations in the say in I know like you can also get funding from banks and stuff, but maybe how about all the other organizations that are actually making money, and I bet they have a lot of money to goes that goes to charity, right?
which
Uh,
organizations are you talking about? Are you talking about queer organizations?
no,
They don't make money.
not queer organization.
Yeah.
I'm talking about commercial
Yeah.
organizations. Like I always say, I love Smash, and I wish
Smash.
that
Yeah.
Smash would do more advertisement.
Mm.
To, yes, they. If you don't know what Smash is, it's amazing. it's this chocolate thing, but not let's not advertise until they give us money. So yeah,
Yeah, don't
like
talk about
mhm.
the chocolate
Yeah.
producer.
But I'm just saying, like, there are a lot of organizations out there we could
Yeah,
approach to get some funding to build this
there
city, right?
there is like we applied to a bank to fund the ballroom workshops.
Mm.
So there are places that we can, of course, apply to, but it all depends on how commercial do we actually
Mm.
want it to be.
Do you believe that pop culture is maybe the necessary evil?
I think I think the queer community need to take more ownership and get paid for their work, for
Mm-hmm.
their, because they start a lot of the trends that are in pop culture,
Yep.
which don't get appreciated enough. So much has been stolen,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's not been giving back. And I'm all about giving back to the community that has given me something.
I do have a goal too, as a ally and a cis person.
Mm.
I would, I have a goal to go into these organizations and ask for more, so that
Mm.
I can give it to,
Yeah,
the breaching. I'm cis, but I always say that my identity is just a mesh of things.
there are a couple of companies that, for me as as a leader of an organization, for me to work with a big ass company, they have to do it in the long
Mm-hmm.
term. You can't just do it one time,
Yeah.
and that's what I've said to
Mm-hmm.
them. And we have a collaboration with one. I'm not going to mention them, but because it's not like
Yeah.
set in stone, or
Mm-hmm.
we haven't done a lot yet, but I know that they are willing to, help, and they have donated a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And we have gotten a few donations the past year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So right now, what I can hear is that first, allies should need the community, so that we have more resource, that we don't rely on just asking,
Mm.
but also building things among us
Yeah.
to be a better ally.
Mm.
And then at one point, maybe we could be the people who are taking back from the pop culture and give
Yeah.
it back to the queer community. And then also getting more funding from different companies and organizations,
Yeah.
so that we can also give more, and then maybe make a balance out of, I don't know how far we are, like when it comes to the balance, or or that actually we're less segregated than we think we are, right? I
Mm.
don't know, because I would say a lot of people are not actually coming out. They will be working amongst us as the cis het people, but then they're actually within the community that don't come out,
Yeah.
right? So it's like intersectionality is the thing that
Mm.
I also feel like we need to mention more, to like have it in mind whenever we're doing things. Um, this is something maybe I would want to say is, maybe even within the trans community,
Mm.
there are more we can think about to
Of
expand the room,
course,
right?
there is always things that we can do better, and I want to aim for that.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to have the resources and
Yeah.
capacity to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, like, the queer community in general is spread pretty thin with all the work that we have to do, and the representational work that we have to do, and I'm not sure that people are aware, but like Pekwi, we have no employees. We do everything voluntarily, unless it's a specific project. Um, but there's always this expectation of, well, I feel that there is an expectation to do a lot more, or maybe that is my own. Um,
You've been struggling a lot because
yeah.
you're alone a lot of times.
Mm.
Mm.
I work 100% in my day job, and then I had a goal of working 10 hours a week with PKI, but it's more than 10 hours. It's probably like,
It's like your life, really.
yeah,
Mm.
I don't have that much free time.
Mm-hmm.
Which we're doing the very best that we can. But if we had more resources to hire people, that a lot of that work would be, delegated to others and give us the opportunity to do more community work, which is really important.
Well, all these leading me to one last question I want to ask. Within the LGBT community, of course, there are also hierarchy because some people are more established. For example, gay and lesbian, cis gay and lesbian people.
Yeah.
I think majority of the society has already accepted them.
Yep.
Right. I'm talking about where we are now.
There is this.
Yeah. So I would say they have more to give, maybe within just even within our community.
Yes,
Could we approach a cis gay man and, hey, I know most of you are rich and no.
yes and no, because of the year that we've had, maybe any other year, we could have done that. I'm not saying that there are of course beautiful gay and lesbian, or a majority, because I would call them a majority compared to trans folk. That they would have more resources, and there are organizations that always will have more resources, but they've also been struggling. So I know that a lot of the minority organizations, they come together, and the only way we can do things is, at least for us, is to collaborate with others, because we do not have the extent of resources like they do. But at the same time, like, one organization can't represent us. We can only represent. I can only represent myself, but they cannot represent me. The same way I cannot represent you, or an organization with, multi-minority backgrounds.
Yeah, it's all about the intersectionality again. So what I'm trying to say is that even within the community, the LGBT community, I think everyone should be first at least aware that they are more privileged, and that if they have more, they should give more, right? And try to make a balance so that nobody is suffering within the community, which is of course hard. But like today, from talking to you, I feel like there is some kind of structure we can put together to like give out there as kind of like a guideline, or just things that I can tell people about. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And also let's wrap up this episode with your favorite dish, because I actually didn't hear that from
I don't think I have
the
one.
last episode. So you don't actually like to have any food in particular, you're saying?
I love food, Bertha. So it's just like you're asking a very impossible question.
What about something you just keep going back to? Like, oh, I miss this dish all the time. Like, I'm just gonna go get this again.
I did say
and
something
again,
last time. I said baked potato.
Yeah, baked potato. Okay. I'll make that for you if you can name a dish. We're gonna do a cooking show at one point. Drastic Social cooking show
That would be
podcast.
great.
Okay.
I love your dumplings.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and that like that side dip that you have with the stuff in it. What was it? The cucumber. We had it in Christmas. I don't like that bean curd shit, so don't bring that.
But yeah, okay. Maybe
I
I'll
love
try.
dumplings.
I'll try to make dumpling your favorite dish then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's
Dim sum.
Oh yeah. You want to try the authentic dim sum too?
Yeah.
Maybe I will try to make it. It's like the hardest thing to make.
Okay, then I'm not
Yeah,
gonna.
but I'll try. I'll try.
Okay.
So people like just stay tuned for a Drastic Social
Cooking
cooking
show.
show. Okay.
I'll just be eating.
Yeah, but we'll be talking also like a podcast. So thank you for watching today, and thank you, Isak.
Thank you.
I love you.
I love you too.
No.
Bye.
Bye. Oh wow, quite on time. It's not like 10 minutes short.
What a great rap, you guys!
Oh, thank you.
That was exciting. And very interesting. And I love the ending. It's good to be positive about food.
How are you gonna have a cooking show with all these